You, of course, are listening to the MHA podcast. Why in the world would you play Isaiah McKenzie over your third-round pick, T. Higgins? Why? I like any quarterback that can make Will Fuller look good.
I love it. I think he's a top 20 receiver.
I mean, he is the Jamar Chase whisperer.
Oh, hell yes. Oh, my God.
You know, everybody loves Lamar Jackson.
Hated it.
I trust Derek Carr.
Come on. For real?
I know why you did. It's because you're crazy.
It's still the week and the games aren't even over yet. It's great. It's fantastic.
Fantastic.
It's fantastic.
Patrick Mahomes. Looks so good. Kyle Pitts was bad.
It's not my shebang. Justin Jefferson.
So good.
We could call him Russell Wilson if you want.
Ooh. Well done, sir. That is good stuff. All of those guys have more fantasy points than Tom Brady. I'm laughing, but I'm crying at the same time. It's terrible. All right. Welcome to the 22nd season of the Mile High Affiliates Fantasy Football. How are you guys doing? Another season of the MHA podcast. The three amigos are still here. Eric Lansing, Mikey Renault, Todd Diamond. Fellas, another season. I think we have like 49 days until the new season. How are we feeling?
Hell yeah. I'm ready for some football. Ready to talk some football, talk some fantasy football, and hope to God the Broncos will score more than 12 points this year. That's all I got to say.
I got to say, I like that new intro music for the podcast. It's like a Stranger Things remix.
Yeah, a little bit, huh? Just trying to find some interesting parts. I mean, I know Mikey and the Will Fuller soundbite was funny. Just kind of right up against it. I thought that was nice. That was good. I think I need to make the music a little bit louder. It seems like it's pretty quiet, so I'll mess with that. But yeah, new year, new soundbite. We actually have some. I mean, for those who listen to the show, you always hear the sound bites, but I always do it in post. And so now I'm actually playing them during. I figure, it's an upgrade and whatever, the software that we use. And so now these guys can hear it. So hopefully that helps with the post-production. I try to get these out as soon as possible, but it takes a couple hours, even in post-production with the old format. So we'll see how this new format goes. We got some sound bites on here. You're probably not going to hear most of them today. You'll get to hear one, but we have like new sound bites for MHA trivia is the same. The studs is the same. We'll have wrong and right, like the buzzers and all that. So you'll hear that throughout the year. So same stuff you've heard before, but it's a fun new year, guys. We have all 12 of our owners coming back for this season, including our defending champion, the Gonzo Cats, who picked up their first ever MHA championship last season. Little banter before we get into it. We have a lot to cover, so there's not gonna be a lot of banter, but have you guys seen that Netflix series Quarterback?
Yes, it is very good. Very, very good.
How many episodes have you seen, Todd?
I've just seen one so far. I haven't seen all of them yet. I've only seen one so far. But
how about you, Mike? I know you've been watching it.
Yeah, I've seen 3. I like it. You get a kind of a different aspect, the family aspect, what they do on their days off, how they train. It's pretty interesting.
I was listening to my normal fantasy football podcast, and they were kind of ripping on Kirk Cousins, saying he was boring. I don't agree that he's boring. He's not overly dramatic. He's a quiet guy. Mm-hmm. But I was interested in what he was doing. I like the aspect of you have this top amazing quarterback. I mean, he's the Super Bowl MVP or Super Bowl champion, and Patrick Mahomes, and then you have Kirk Cousins, kind of a middle of the road guy. Who it's his job and he's leading the team and they have these ups and downs. Great start, of course. Justin Jefferson's in there. And then you have Marcus Mariota who's fighting for his life. And I haven't gotten to the part of that season yet, but I'm pretty sure he gets benched for the rookie. And so you're seeing like all 3 different aspects of the quarterback. And I hear they're going to do a second season. So pretty cool show. I like that type of stuff. I can't get enough NFL football. Hard Knocks is coming up. And speaking of that, Hard Knocks is going to have the Jets. Not really super surprising. I guess that's in the news section, but pretty cool to when that season gets started. So what are we going to talk about on this first MHA podcast of this new 2023 season? Well, all kinds of movement going on. Those familiar faces vamosing into new places, and then I'll get your guys' thoughts and what it means for them and their fantasy value, or the players that they join. Like, what's that going to mean? So a lot going on, and so let's bring in the news.
I don't understand what the news is. It's just like, hey, here's a bunch of you can't fix that happened that was horrible.
So Lamar Jackson, I don't know if you guys like that soundbite. I thought that was, you try to find like different, I've used different ones through the years, but I found that one by accident.
Where's that from?
So it's Bill Burr, if you don't know if you didn't realize,
Okay.
but he was doing an interview with, I can't, his name escapes me. Redhead guy. He used to do the Tonight, not the Tonight Show, but the Late Show.
Oh,
Help me out here, writer for The Simpsons. Yeah, so he did it. I think it was like Conan O'Brien's podcast.
Okay.
And I came across it and mentioned the news and threw that in there. So let's get to the news a little bit there. So we mentioned Lamar Jackson. He's going to remain a Raven, signs a new big contract, 5 years, $260 million, makes him the highest paid player in NFL history as of May 4th. I don't think anybody's surpassed him yet. But Lamar Jackson, we'll get to Lamar Jackson, what we think about him once we get to the quarterbacks episode. But just for now, here's some news. Josh Jacobs, Saquon Barkley. Last Monday was the deadline for long-term contracts to be signed. Of course, the franchise tags also. Jacobs and Barkley not signing a long-term contract or their franchise tag. So potential thoughts that they could hold out and may not play week 1 or 2 or 3, depending on when they want to even show up. They could come in and sign their franchise tag at some point, but right now they're kind of waiting on the sideline. Other running backs, that are still looking for homes, Dalvin Cook, Leonard Fournette, Ezekiel Elliott. So keep an eye on that as we go through here. That'll be interesting how we start ranking people once we get to those ranking episodes on guys that don't have a home yet. And these are all kind of veterans, and they don't necessarily need to come in for some of the early workout stuff. So we'll keep an eye on that. One guy that did sign, this is kind of breaking news from this Sunday, DeAndre Hopkins signs a 2-year, $26 million deal. That with incentives, he can make more than that. They could reach up to $32 million. Titans attempted 456 total passes last season, which was third from the bottom. And they've been in the bottom 7 the last 7 seasons. This is a team that does not throw the ball a ton. Not to saying there's not a lot of fantasy implications for wide receivers. We've seen what A.J. Brown can do in the system. The offense threw for 16 total touchdowns, including 1 from Derrick Henry. Robert Woods led Tennessee last season with 53 receptions, 527 yards, and 2 TDs. Just a quick note, guys, are you excited that? I mean, do you like where he went? Obviously, it doesn't look great on paper, but at least he signed. Just give me a quick thought or two. Depending on where don't tell me where you think you're going to sign him, but is he intriguing? He's with the team now. That's good. That's one less thing you have to worry about once the draft comes up. But how are you feeling about Hopkins real quick? Mikey, we'll start with you.
I mean, it's not the best place for a passing attack, considering their quarterback situation's kind of like in flux. You assume Tannehill may be the starter, but maybe not. I mean, they brought in Will Levis after drafting Malik Willis last year. And, I mean, Hopkins is, on the other side of 32, so that's a little bit concerning when it comes to staying healthy and being as productive as he once was.
Todd, quick thoughts on Hopkins?
He picked the wrong team. I would have. I mean, again, I don't want to give the Chiefs because they can go suck it, but I would have chose Kansas City and just taken a lesser deal. You have Patrick Mahomes throwing you the football. You have potentially might win a Super Bowl, but he wants his money. He picked the wrong team, but hey, if I had that much money, kind of presented to me,
exactly.
I'd probably take it too. So there you go. As we go.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I picked the wrong team. If they're willing to pay you, you go and do it.
Yeah, I agree. But Eric, just quick. But would, in your mind, would you have thought maybe he would have because Kansas City was one of the options that was out there? Would you taken? Would you said Kansas City too, just for shits and giggles?
Well, I mean, if they're going to pay him this, if someone said, "Hey, Eric, I'm going to pay you the same money," whether it's Tennessee or Kansas City, yeah, of course you go to Kansas City. They have a way better chance of winning a Super Bowl. I don't think Hopkins has a Super Bowl ring. And so why not? But
Okay.
I'm sure that's not the case. They have money invested in Patrick Mahomes and then obviously Travis Kelce and the offensive line and their pretty okay, solid defense. But I'm sure they didn't have the money to, at least I don't think they have the money to afford them. They've been buying these or signing these second-rate wide receivers the last few years. And so my guess is they can't afford someone like a DeAndre Hopkins. Could be wrong on that, but who knows? I don't know. But I mean,
Okay.
yeah. Continue on the news here. Jaguars signed Evan Ingram to a 3-year, $41 million deal. Had a pretty solid year last year. So they're just wrapping him up here, keeping maybe the continuity with Mr. Trevor Lawrence. So we'll talk about Evan Ingram in the tight ends podcast. I know that's Mikey's favorite one. Alvin Kamara, off the field stuff. I remember last year around this time, we didn't know what the end result was going to be with his off the field car incident. We didn't know, oh my gosh, is he going to be suspended? What's going to happen? And then at some point, as we were doing these podcasts, he said, well, it's something they're going to figure out next year. Well, here we are next year. He pleaded no contest. It was an incident that took place before last season. He did end up paying $100,000 for medical bills of this victim. But my guess, based on things I'm hearing and reading, he's probably going to get suspended by the NFL. I don't know if he has a previous record, but if they don't have a previous infraction,
record,
they can appeal it, maybe get 1 or 2 games down. I don't know how long the suspension is, but that's something to keep an eye on as we get closer to the start of the NFL season. And I mentioned the Hard Knocks going to be with the Jets, and so there you go. So that's kind of the news. And so I think now let's kind of get into it with the new face or the old faces and new places segment of this show. There's a lot going on here. So we'll get right into it. And of course, we're going to start with quarterbacks. And how about Aaron Rodgers? Man, 18 seasons with the Packers. Now a New York Jet, the 4-time MVP, moved on from the frozen tundra of Wisconsin to a place where the city never sleeps in New York. I'll start with Todd. How are we feeling about Aaron Rodgers with the Jets? And I haven't asked you guys to do rankings, so I'm not going to ask you about rankings, but how do you feel about him in terms of the fantasy spectrum of things?
Well, I mean, he's going to go into a tougher division, first and foremost, and conference-wise too. So it's not going to just be like the NFC where, not saying the last few years it was kind of a cakewalk for the Packers to get to the conference championship game, but 18 seasons, it's a long time, and he did everything he could, and obviously the Packers just decided they didn't want to. There was so many opportunities I can remember, in the past to get him help, when it came to wide receiver help or whatever the case may be, but he wanted out. So he's with the Jets now. And okay, I mean, the market and what he's going to have to deal with is going to be about 10 times more difficult. And the weapons he has around him, I mean, Garrett Wilson, let's see what he can do in his second year. I mean, that's going to be the number one target for Aaron Rodgers. I mean, yes, he brought his pals along with him, and Alan Lazard and Randall Cobb. I mean, Randall Cobb looked like he's on his last leg, and Alan Lazard, I mean, yeah, he showed flashes when he was in with Green Bay. So we'll see. I mean, you just don't know. I mean, is this going to help motivate? Is Aaron Rodgers now like, okay, I'm just motivated now. I'm in a new place, and I'm I'm with a team that wants to help me win and so forth. So we'll see. We'll see. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is MVPs. He knows how to. He knows how to throw the rock. So he's gonna have to. You're gonna have to be. The expectations. That's the biggest thing with all this is the expectations. Is Aaron Rodgers going to lead? Is going to going to throw for 5,000 yards and 30 touchdowns or whatever? Possible, but I don't know. The first year, just trying to get used to things.
Mikey, for Aaron Rodgers, last year didn't have a great season. He didn't have an MVP season, didn't have a great fantasy season. He finished 11th in our scoring system. New plays can be rejuvenating for some folks. Goes into a team that, of course, Todd mentioned it. He's got Garrett Wilson, brings in a couple of guys he's familiar with, and Lazard and Cobb. He has Brees Hall, who's coming off an injury, but showed amazing talent when he's out there. Should we be feeling good about Aaron Rodgers as a number one quarterback, or at least a top 12 quarterback in our scoring league?
What I'll say is the same thing that I had mentioned about Russell Wilson and the fact that I think there's an adjustment period. I mean, their schedule is pretty brutal to start. They play 6 out of their first 8 against teams that were in the playoffs, and the 2 that weren't were the Broncos and the Patriots, who both had 2 of the best defenses in the league. So,
Sure.
I mean, I think that it's going to take a little while in a new place for them to start getting going. I think it'll get better as it goes. So if you draft him, I would back him up with, somebody that's like reasonable, like just for example, like a Kirk Cousins or somebody like that, because I think there's going to be struggles at the beginning, but I think he's going to get better as the season goes and towards the end.
So there's Aaron Rodgers. Let's talk about another quarterback who moved. How about Derek Carr going from Vegas to New Orleans? Another longtime QB moving teams. Carr, who's played in his entire 9-year career with the Raiders, took his talents over to the Saints, and they feature, of course, Alvin Kamara, Chris Olave, Taysom Hill. Carr coming off 2022, where he played 15 games, threw for just 3,500 yards, 24 touchdowns, and 14 picks, 60% completion percentage. Kind of a down year for him, considering what he did in 2021, where he had 428 completions, only had 305 last year. Mike, I'll start with you. Some of your thoughts on Derek Carr. Is he in a better place, a worse place? And is he even worth a top 12 to 15 type of quarterback in terms of fantasy?
He's pretty average. So yeah, he's to me, he's like he's not a starter for me. He's a more of a backup, somebody that you can rely on in bye weeks. Like I think he needed to get out of the Raiders and everything that was going on there. So I like it as a fresh start, and they've got some decent weapons in New Orleans. But yeah, I mean, I don't see a whole lot of potential upside out of him to be like a breakout candidate.
Yeah, I can kind of agree with that. Maybe he's streaming, maybe he has a couple good weeks, but there's just so many question marks with that Saints team. We're going to keep moving here as we have a lot to cover. Todd, I'm going to ask you about Jimmy Garoppolo. Maybe you don't give two cents about it, about this Jimmy Garoppolo going from San Francisco to Las Vegas, taking over for Derek Carr. Garoppolo finds his third team in his 9-year career. The former Patriot, now 49er, or previous 49er, has never really been a consistent fantasy producer. Played in 11 games last season, threw for 2,400 yards, 16 touchdowns, just 4 picks. He's only played in every game in a season once, and that was when it was 2019. He played all 16 games, threw for 4,000 yards, and tossed a career high 27 touchdowns. But he now joins a squad that features the great Devontae Adams, of course, Josh Jacobs leading the league in rushing, and there's other guys they brought onto the team. You feeling Jimmy Garoppolo at all, Todd?
Week three is when he gets hurt. Next quarterback.
Well, quick, Mikey, do you want to say something
about Garoppolo?
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
I don't like Garoppolo at all.
Nothing intriguing, huh?
No.
Anything? Well, one last quarterback we'll mention before we get on to the running backs, which everybody wants to hear about. Baker Mayfield, when he played for the Carolina Panthers and the Rams last season. Now he's apparently the starter in Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
Is that exciting?
A little bit.
Is it?
No.
Todd says no. How are you feeling? What are the juices flowing for Baker Mayfield?
So just hear me out on this. I'm not saying that I love it or I like it or anything like that, but So take the offense that was around Tom Brady. You had Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Russell Gage, and an all right offensive line that was just hurt, but it's probably now healthy. And a running game that doesn't have Leonard Fournette anymore. I don't know. This is a team that maybe is going to be down in games, that has a pretty good set of weapons to throw to. I'm just saying, if you look at it, there's some sleeper possibilities there if he's the starter.
No, they're gonna just kind of weather the storm and see it. I mean, not quote unquote tank it, but see if they can. Yeah, Caleb Williams
Well, well,
is their
wait,
target.
wait. Okay, so you're reading what I said totally wrong, Todd. I didn't say they were going to win games. We're
It's
talking
not what. Yeah.
about we're talking about fantasy football here. I'm just
I
talking about
understand, but
them.
even Baker May, because here's the thing, because you kind of like Baker Mayfield. I like Derek Carr a lot more in these two situations there, because that division is going to be interesting, because you're going to have Atlanta with technically a first year quarterback. Baker Mayfield, yes, has shown flashes and is shown he's capable of it, but I'd rather have Derek Carr. I think Derek Carr is going to score more points than Baker Mayfield if that's the case. We can put that as a board bet if we want.
Well,
Since
right. And see, here's the thing about this.
uh-huh.
So your point makes sense because Derek Carr is assured to be the starter, probably assured to be the starter the whole season. Baker Mayfield, we don't even know if he's going to be the for sure starter. And there's a better chance he gets benched than he finishes the season. I'm just throwing it out there. Like,
Yeah,
th-
I agree with that. I kind of do agree with that. But the thing is, I don't know. I mean, behind Baker Mayfield, what Kyle Trask?
I'm just
Uh,
saying, is who's more likely to have to be throwing the ball all the time and has decent weapons to be able to do it? I'm just saying it's there.
yeah, I mean, it's probably yeah. I mean, it probably most likely would be Baker Mayfield, but sometimes that philosophy. I mean, granted, yes, what fantasy football sometimes is garbage points, but I don't know. Sometimes it's even hard for sometimes even get those garbage points sometimes, because yes, they're throwing the ball a lot, but if a lot of those passes just happen to be interceptions, hmm,
Yeah, I mean,
garbage point.
I'm not saying I disagree. He could have a game where he throws for 400 yards on
Hmm.
28 completions with 3 touchdowns and 3 picks. But
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
still
we
a
saw
pretty
that.
decent day.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that with Jameis Winston. I mean, Jameis Winston was the poster child for that, for sure. For for just chucking it up and throwing 4 picks a game, but hey, scoring 5 touchdowns. But that's just me.
Baker Mayfield, folks. We'll talk a lot more about it when we get close to the quarterbacks episode, because I mean they have a good team, but do they have a good coach? I think there's that's a whole different subject, and offensive coordinator, and it was pretty bad last year. But let's get into these running backs that are in new places here. We have a bunch of names. We'll see how much we get through. We're about 22 minutes into this episode. So we'll try to go through these and give some analysis and not try to spend too much time, because we'll go through the running backs episode as well. But we'll start here with Miles Sanders, Philadelphia to Carolina. He spent all 4 years with the Eagles. He signed a 4-year, $25 million deal, the highest paid running back here in this offseason. Finished 12th in our league last year, had 259 attempts, just under 1,300 total yards, 11 touchdowns, just 20 receptions. So, Mikey, I'll start with you. Miles Sanders, good move, bad move. Some of your thoughts as Miles Sanders now in Carolina.
It's obviously a bad move. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, he's obviously the number one guy in Carolina because I don't see Chuba Hubbard or Raheem Blackshear challenging him. But this is a team that has a rookie quarterback, an offensive line that's not super great, and weapons on the outside at receiver that are not good either. So they're going to be relying on him more than Philadelphia did. But all I see that being is I see a guy that's going to be averaging less yards a carry on more carries and being run into the ground. So, yeah, I'm not a big fan.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. Like, I think the touchdowns go down, but his receptions are going to go up. And and I feel like he's a guy that's capable of catching balls. He's averaged 31 receptions in his 4 years. He had I think something like 50 in his first season, but then kind of trailed off. And I think it was just more of the system than it was him not being able to provide in those situations. And you mentioned Hubbard and Blackshear, who combined for 118 carries for 543 yards and 5 touchdowns. So I think you're right. He'll be the bell cow. But I think it's going to be more, of course, when you're not with the Eagles, the scoring touchdowns, the opportunities, the offense of the speed of the offense is going to go down. But it's his job, and he can go out there and rack up the volume. And maybe that's not as high as maybe you were hoping for if he would have stayed with the Eagles. But that's kind of where we are now. I'm going to ask Todd about Damian Harris, now going from New England to Buffalo. The running back comes to Buffalo after taking over the duties of Devin Singletary, who we'll talk about in a minute here. Harris has played in New England in his previous 4 seasons. Kind of disappointing last season for Harris, who missed 6 games. And, of course, the emergence of Ramondre Stevenson didn't help his production when he was able to get out there. Harris is just 2 seasons removed, though, from a breakout 2021 season where he ran for 929 yards, scored 15 total touchdowns. Of course, we never thought he would reach that number, but he's definitely kind of taken a couple of steps back. Todd, Damian Harris over to Buffalo. They're just kind of the opposite of Miles Sanders, going from a good offense to a bad offense. Harris going from a kind of a bad offense to a good offense. What are some of your thoughts on Harris?
Well, I mean, he'll definitely be, hopefully, will be the goal line back, because I think James Cook will be kind of the, I don't know, scat back or whatever, however you want to frame it. But yeah, Damian Harris definitely will be the goal line back, because obviously we've seen in previous years Josh Allen, their quarterback, one of the best quarterbacks, was their goal line running back, and that just wasn't good for anybody. I mean, obviously if you had him, it's great, but I think Damian Harris definitely will be kind of that Jamal Williams type, back where you get those tough yards, those 3rd and 2s or whatever, 3rd and 1 type backs. But yeah, obviously he's going into a great offense, so it definitely makes it easier. When you're, let's say, when you're changing teams and going to a team that's on the verge of getting to the Super Bowl and winning one, it helps a little bit. So for me, Damian Harris definitely is going to be kind of like goal line type back and so forth for Buffalo.
Mikey, did you want to say something, or were you bitching about your fantasy baseball team?
No, I like to so definitively say definitely. I disagree with that. I think they don't know. That's my opinion. Like there's like so many. They got James Cook, Damian Harris, Naheem Hines is there. They signed Latavius Murray. I think they're just waiting for one of these guys to take it. Like they weren't happy with Devin Singletary. They let him go. I don't think they know. Like they're just hoping like one of these guys kind of fits. And I honestly think Josh Allen is still their goal line back.
Yeah, but I mean, if they want, I think if they want to win a Super Bowl, they can't have Josh Allen doing that. That's my own thing, and even for fantasy purposes too, because you're afraid too. Okay, they're at the goal line and Josh Allen's running it in. Obviously, it's great and that's what we want, but take one bad hit and your season's, excuse the language, but
so how definitive? So I mean, you sound pretty confident about that. So you're willing to like put your chips into the table and draft Damian Harris, because if that's true, if he truly is their goal line back, then he's going to be a pretty darn good fantasy player, considering that's an offense that gets downfield a lot.
Yeah, I could definitely see it, and I mean, also too, I agree with your point too. They want to see which one of these guys can get it, and I think it's going to be Harris.
Okay.
Well, Josh Allen has led the team in rushing touchdowns 2 of the past 3 years. Singletary had 5 last year. He did lead the team in rushing touchdowns 2 years ago with 7. And before that, Josh Allen once again, of course, he had 8. So that's an interesting situation. We'll see kind of how that goes. I mean, James Cook, they draft capital. We'll say they're still going to use him quite a bit. Let's go to Devin Singletary. He goes from Buffalo to Houston, signed a 1-year, $2.75 million deal, so kind of a small deal. He will now take over the carries for Houston in his 5th year. Of course, Dameon Pierce and Mike Boone is in the backfield with him. Pierce, of course, had a great breakout as a rookie 1 year ago. Before he got hurt, 13 games played, 939 yards, 5 total touchdowns, averaged about 4.3 yards per carry, and did have 30 receptions. Mikey Singletary, who showed he could be productive, now goes over to Houston. Maybe the offense not gonna be the same for him, but how does he kind of fit in this mix of Pierce and Boone?
I'm not too worried about Boone. I mean, to
Sure.
me, this is a 2-horse race with Singletary and Damian Pierce. Like, to me, like if it were me, I'd give the slight edge to Pierce because, I like what he did in his rookie year, and Devin Singletary's just been, kind of okay. But you don't know that that's what the situation's going to be because, I mean, you have a whole new coaching staff there, so they don't know what direction it's going to be, and it's going to take this training camp and preseason to kind of figure that out.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot to be figured out. I mean, with a new coaching staff and Pierce, who was a 4th-round pick, not super high draft capital, but they also only paid Singletary a couple $1,000,000. So he's kind of, I don't want to say he's expendable, but it's great to have depth at the running back position. But none of that stuff really matters, I guess, right? It's all about who's going to be productive out there. Houston, not expected to be a high octane offense. So, with Pierce, maybe he gets a little bit more of the catches to be exciting, but I would have preferred Singletary to go somewhere else and have Pierce on his own, but it's tough in this. You got to have depth, and I agree. At this point in time, I would put Pierce ahead of Singletary.
Yeah, and they brought in a lot of the, coaching staff from the 49ers, so how their running game works. They're going to use everybody.
Everybody's going to get a piece of the pie. Yeah, that's a good point. Let's talk to Todd about DeAndre Swift. Kind of a surprise move, honestly. I thought, he's kind of coming to the end of his rookie contract, and maybe there was some, I don't know if there was any kind of off the field or hurt feelings. I don't know. Maybe it was just more he couldn't stay healthy, but DeAndre Swift takes over for Miles Sanders in Philadelphia. Philly might have the best offensive line in the league based on some of the things I've read. Of course, Lions also drafted Jahmyr Gibbs in the 1st round. So that means that kind of, I guess, ended the Swift tenure, if anything. You go to the Philly backfield. There's Rashad Penny, Kenneth Gainwell, Boston Scott. So a lot going on there. But Todd, how are you feeling about DeAndre Swift as we get closer to the start of the NFL season?
Love this move. DeAndre Swift, I mean, they have him projecting rushing for 620 yards. He's gonna destroy that. He's gonna rush for 1,000 yards. He's going to be the main back in that offense. It catches glory. 40 receptions, make that about 70. I mean, I love this move. I mean, he's getting out of Detroit. He's going to a better team, and everything like that. Oh yeah, 6 touchdowns. Try about 12. No, DeAndre Swift. Love this move. Love this.
Todd, do you know that he's never rushed for 1,000 yards in his career?
Yeah, well, because he played because he was in Detroit. That's the problem.
I don't think that was the problem. I mean, Jamal Williams ran for 1,000 yards last year.
Yeah, but DeAndre Swift, but he's going to a better team. I always think whether it's fantasy or reality, when you're going to a team is a winning team. It's been to the Super Bowl, it's won a Super Bowl. That carries over into the fantasy world. It gives that running back just more motivation, and I guarantee you, he's gonna be motivated. He's gonna want to stick it to the Lions for trading him, regardless whether it was at the end of his rookie deal. Because we all know this from the news we just talked about that's been going on. Running backs getting kind of disrespected. DeAndre Swift's going to put the foot down. It's going to be great.
Mikey, you'd like to retort?
I mean, I think it's a little much. Like Jalen Hurts still rushes the ball over 150 times a year.
But again, that's why they went and got DeAndre Swift, though, Mikey. They got this so they can keep Hurts, upright and and minimize injury. This is the whole point of it. I mean,
so
right?
do you think? I mean, and we haven't talked about it. He's further down the list, but don't you think there's a point to? I mean, Swift had his struggles in Detroit. Like he got hurt a couple times. They also bring in Rashad Penny, who's kind of also a gets hurt kind of guy that has upside. So like I think pairing them together, the point is not to like run DeAndre Swift into the ground like he's the clear cut number one. I think they're going to use both of them with Jalen Hurts to create this kind of 3-headed monster.
Penny's gonna be hurt just walking onto the field. No, DeAndre Swift's gonna be the guy. He's gonna be the guy. The bell cow gonna be the guy. Promise you that.
Well, I mean, Swift has missed 9 games in 3 years. He's not. There's no guarantee he's going to stay healthy either.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you there. But I just think again, Swift is just I always like when they players whether they go in free agency or teams trade them. It gives them that I don't know. It just gives them that extra oomph, chutzpah, gives them that extra, just gives them that extra motivation. Like, okay, yeah, you guys didn't want to keep me. I'm gonna go out there and prove it and have a big year. So just little motivation factors like that. Just
Sure. And then, I mean, if Swift, when he's healthy, he goes out there and does well. And then when he gets hurt and Penny comes in and he does well, I mean, Jalen Hurts has 23 rushing touchdowns the last 2 seasons. I think the offense is still going to be humming. I just don't know if you're going to get the volume out of Swift. But if Penny's just can't, I mean, they didn't pay Penny at all. I mean, they paid him $600,000 for 1 year. If he's struggling before the season, he could get cut. So we'll kind of see how that rolls, Mikey.
Don't forget, they also have Kenneth Gainwell, who they like. They also have Boston Scott, who they brought back that they also like. I mean, Philly's like they use all these dudes.
Yeah, 100%.
DeAndre Swift's kind of a different kind of breed, though, too.
You're right. He's Barry Sanders. I forgot all about that.
No, he's not Barry Sanders. It's not Barry Sanders.
I thought I liked DeAndre Swift. Someone else is madly in love. Twitter pated.
When you put him on a team that's been in the Super Bowl, has won a Super Bowl, that mindset changes so quickly. It goes like, oh my God, this is what winners look like. This is amazing. So,
all right, well, we got to keep moving here. Mikey, I'm going to ask you about David Montgomery because who takes over for DeAndre Swift in Detroit? It's going to be Montgomery, who comes over from Los Angeles, kind of try to fill those shoes because both Swift and Jamal Williams left. Lions last year had a top 5 offensive line. Montgomery, 4 years. Wait a minute, hold up here. 4 years in the Windy City. He had 800 plus rush yards every one of those season. He had a 1,000 yard season in his sophomore campaign. Just a 3.9 yard per carry for his career. And I'm as I mentioned earlier, Jahmyr Gibbs drafted in the first round, so we'll have to battle out that as well. Although Gibbs is kind of more known for his receiving. Does David Montgomery excite you at all in this Detroit offense?
Oh, I think he's a bell cow. No, I'm just playing.
Very funny, Mike.
I'm just playing. No, I think they brought in 2 guys that have similar roles to the 2 guys they got rid of. So Montgomery's going to play more of the Jamal Williams type back, the heavier use at the goal line type deal, where Gibbs is going to be like the more of the Swift, the more fast, athletic, catch the ball in the backfield type guy. So yeah, I don't think that Montgomery's going to be the bell cow, but there's good touchdown potential behind a better offensive line than he had in Chicago.
100%. Todd Jamal Williams. Detroit goes from Detroit to New Orleans, signed a 3-year, $12 million contract. The New Orleans offensive line's bottom 10 unit, according to a couple websites I've seen. Of course, Kamara's still there, although suspension could be coming. They drafted a guy in the 3rd round in Kendre Miller, although I think I saw something today or heard something today that he could be injured. I'll have to double check that. Of course, Williams was spectacular last year. Had 262 attempts, just over 1,000 yards, 17 total touchdowns. How are we feeling about Jamal Williams in New Orleans?
I think his role will still kind of obviously be, and obviously this depends on with injuries too. If Kamara or even obviously if he gets suspended and whatnot, but I think he still will kind of have that role what he had in Detroit and what he had in Green Bay as well. So kind of just more of the same, Nothing, nothing to push pull the needle by any means. So just kind of same, nothing spectacular.
Yeah.
All right, so
the only reason
go
I
ahead.
don't like it is because of Taysom Hill.
Yes, Taysom Hill always in the mix over there. I don't know if Mikey wants to talk about Rashad Penny. He's never been a huge Rashad Penny guy. He just finished his 5th season with Seattle, and I was looking at that Kendre Miller guy. He was placed on the non-football injury list. I guess he dealt with an injury in college and will miss the start of training camp. So there you go, one less guy you'd have to worry about if you're interested in Jamal Williams at all. But back to Penny, missed 39 games over that 5-year span with Seattle. He fractured his fibula last season. He was off to a decent start before the injury. Of course, we talked about Philly bringing in DeAndre Swift. Both guys are injury prone. Is Penny a guy you're looking at as a late round draft pick, Miguel?
Sure. I mean, he has shown like explosion. For his career, he averages 5.7 yards a carry. So it's there. But the problem is like he's a walking. Well, I was going to use a bad joke and say he's a walking wheelchair, which doesn't make any sense. But yeah, that's
using the sound bites.
Yeah. Yep. Played that one back in my head.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think Philadelphia, to them, it's like low cost deal. If there's any way he stays healthy, like they could, potentially have a steal. That's the way they're looking at it. So yeah, that's exactly what you're looking for when you're drafting late in the draft.
Yeah, not much of a receiver, but again, it's a steal at $600,000 if he get any kind of production out of him. And I don't know if there's any issues with him at the start of the season coming off that fractured fibula, but I haven't really seen anything about that either. Let's finish up the running backs here with Todd, with Samaje Perine, of course, coming over from Cincinnati to the Denver Broncos. Begins his 7th season. I didn't realize he was around the league this long. You just didn't really hear about him until maybe the last couple of years. A guy who can run, catch, and even pass block. 38 receptions, 4 receiving touchdowns last year. We all know about Javonte Williams recovering that major injury from last year. So Perine could kind of come in and be the starter while he's still trying to recover, although there's reports that Javonte could be ready by week 1. Who knows? But so Todd, Samaje Perine, coming in with Javonte Williams still there. We saw he was very productive with Cincinnati last year. Thoughts on Samaje Perine here in the Mile High City?
I think he definitely really showed some flashes last year in Cincinnati. Yeah, I mean it's all going to depend on what Javonte Williams' availability is. Yes, he's I think it's Javonte saying, "Hey, I'm going to be ready, training camp week 1 and all this." But I think at least Samaje Perine could at least hold down the fort a little bit. If they do hold Javonte back, whether it's the first 2 weeks or 3 weeks, just to make sure he's good to go. But Samaje Perine, he's a serviceable backup, and I think is smart in the sense of, okay, I'm not gonna mess this up. I'm not gonna just hold on to the football, two hands. and I think at least he'll just hold it down until Javonte is ready.
I feel like, and maybe this is just me, and
Mhm.
and I don't hope I'm not being biased on this either, because he was on my team and helped me out for a couple of weeks. But I feel like
Mhm.
if he could and I don't know, he could outperform Javonte Williams and be maybe not take over the first starter duties, but couldn't he just play the same type of position he was with Joe Mixon, where Mixon would get a bulk of the carries, but Ryan got enough where it took away some carries, some catches from Joe Mixon, and actually kind of be an integral part of the offense. Maybe we're undervaluing P. Ryan right now.
See,
Maybe I'm overrating him. I don't know.
Integral part of the offense. I mean, there's a difference between that and like actually being a good fantasy player.
Yeah, maybe I'm not asking the right question. You're probably right.
So I don't know. I look at it more like he, like right off the bat, he's going to be a valuable fantasy player, because I don't, as bad as that injury to Javonte Williams was, I don't have a whole lot of confidence that he's going to be like up to himself, like right at the beginning. So
Yeah.
like it makes P Ryan more like how Todd had Edwards Helaire last year, where he was like good for a month, and then after that it's just kind of like blah.
All right. Well, there's some MHA P. Ryan. We'll see. We'll monitor things as we go along when training camp starts, and we'll see what Javonte Williams look like. But P. Ryan could be a guy that gets drafted a couple rounds earlier if Williams is not ready to go. Okay, let's get into these receivers. We have about, I don't know, 15 minutes left to go. We'll see how this goes here. We'll start things off with, how about Mikey's favorite, DJ Moore? He goes from Carolina to Chicago. That might be a lateral move. The Bears traded for DJ Moore, and I didn't realize you traded him for a first-round pick. My goodness. Part of a wide receiver core in Chicago that also has Chase Claypool and Darnell Mooney. Last year, 63 receptions, 888 yards, kind of his worst season since his rookie campaign. He did have a career-high 7 touchdowns last year, but before that, just 8 the last 2 years. Mikey, thoughts on DJ Moore with the Panthers?
I just thought it's funny the way that you intro this. Oh, they also have Chase Claypool and Darnell Mooney. Hey, remember when they were things?
Yes.
Oh, everyone loved Darnell Mooney coming into the draft last year. Oh.
I was on that train. I ended up picking him up after Aaron dropped him. Gave me one good week. So is DJ Moore, is it what you're saying, is he kind of fits that profile of Claypool and Mooney? Guys that are just kind of like, yeah, remember when they were good?
Yeah, Chicago is where any type of receiver goes to die.
Just because they throw an NFL low 377 attempts and an NFL low 223 completions, you don't think Justin Fields could get better next year?
He could get better. I'm not confident that he's going to get so much better as a passing quarterback that it's gonna, bump DJ Moore up any higher on my draft board to where I previously would probably have him. Look, DJ Moore's okay. He sucked like I said he was going to last year up until the last 3 or 4 games. Made it look so much better than he actually
Recency
was.
bias.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of it.
Well, I'm not fighting for him this year, so you don't have to worry about that. A guy I know Todd wants to talk about. He's one of the Todd favorites. Calvin Ridley goes from the couch to Jacksonville. 28 years old. Of course, he was the former first-round pick in 2018 by the Falcons. Did not play last year due to gambling stuff. He also missed 11 games 2 years ago because of mental health issues, so hasn't played in a long time. But when he did play, he was great. 28 touchdowns in 49 games, at a career-high 10 touchdowns in 2018. Big breakout 2020 season, 90 receptions, 1,300 yards, and 9 TDs. Now playing with Trevor Lawrence. Todd, I'm so interested to hear what you have to say about Calvin Ridley.
Oh, boy. Here we go. Well, here's the thing. Obviously, he's gone through a lot. Obviously, I mean, with the mental health stuff and gambling, got no, sympathy on that one. But this could be an opportunity for him to maybe get back to his, his rookie year, his second year in the league, with an up and coming quarterback in Trevor Lawrence, you know, semi semi easy division, maybe, because you don't know who's really going to come out of that division. But for Ridley, I think this, he could definitely he could revive his career. He could revive his career and have a, they have him 874 yards projected. I mean, he's a fast wide receiver. He's, you get him some screen passes, he can turn the Jets on. So yeah, am I drafting Calvin Ridley, first 8 rounds? No. But if he's there like in, ninth round,
He won't be.
Yeah, he'll be gone. He'll be
I know
gone.
he'll be gone.
Let me ask you this question, and both
yes.
of you guys can answer, and we'll let Todd, if he has anything else he wants to say. But who are you drafting first, Christian Kirk or Calvin Ridley?
God,
Todd?
I love that question. I was going to ask the same one.
Ooh. I'll just go with Calvin Ridley because I think he's going to have a chip on his shoulder a little bit because he wants to, I think he'll have something to prove.
Mikey, what say you?
I believe Ridley is the better player pre-year off. However, if I'm drafting it, I'm taking Kirk based on what I've seen connection with Trevor Lawrence already. Christian Kirk was pretty good. I mean, he had over, 1,000 yards receiving, had over 80 catches last year, I believe. So I would lean Kirk.
I'm with you at this stage until who knows what that's going to look like when he gets out there and running around. But as of today, July 20th is when we're recording this show. It's Christian Kirk, and it's not even, I won't say not close, but I feel like there's no way at this moment am I drafting Ridley over Kirk. Kirk has that rapport. He's in football shape. I agree. If this was if he'd been playing every year and blah 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 blah, I mean, he'd be a top 10 wide receiver based on the stats he's put up there before. But I mean, Christian Kirk is there. He's done it. He knows the system. It all lines up for him. Kirk, 84 receptions, over 1,100 yards and 8 touchdowns. That's a good season considering how bad the Jaguars the year before. And if anybody feels that Trevor Lawrence is going to be better in his third year, like they both going to have fantasy relevance, but at this point, I'm drafting Christian Kirk first. Let's keep moving down here. A guy that Mikey's very familiar with, and Brandon Cooks goes over to Dallas from Houston. Does turn 30 this year. Dallas was actually 19th in the NFL in pass attempts 1 year ago, but they were tied for 8th in terms of passing touchdowns. Of course, we know what the volatility of Dak Prescott. The one thing I noticed about Cooks is his yards per catch have dramatically fallen over the last 6 years, 14.7 to 11.8. Mikey, you can tell me if I'm right or wrong, but it looks like he's slotted to be the number 2 guy behind CeeDee Lamb. Michael Gallup is still there. How are you thinking about Cooks going into this year with the Cowboys?
I was confused about this move because, Cooks was like, I don't know. I don't know how this helps him. Like, it helps Dallas because they're getting, he's still a decent receiver, but I just feel like I don't know. CeeDee Lamb is the number 1. Gallup, if healthy, is a deep guy, which is similar to what Cooks is. I just don't know how much I like this move.
He was 2 years removed from 90 receptions, 1,000 yards, and 6 touchdowns. Can he get anywhere near that, or is he just going to be kind of a 60 catch, 800, 600 yard guy and maybe a couple touchdowns? Is that how we're feeling?
I think he's more the latter. He was more that 1,000-yard guy in Houston because he had to be. They didn't have anybody else to do that. And if the rumors are true that they're trying to be a more conservative play to your defense run team, then that doesn't help him either.
I personally, for NFL purposes, non-fantasy, yes, Dallas needs to do that. Do not put Dak in situations where he needs to throw and overthrow. Less throwing, the better for Dak Prescott. That's just my opinion. I'm gonna go all the way down to Odell Beckham. I know I have him kind of like 4 guys down, but I think I want Todd's thoughts, and I'll probably ask Mikey that just because it's Odell Beckham. People want to hear about him. He's obviously going from the couch to Baltimore, 30 years old, didn't play. So he got a 1-year deal, $15 million. In 2021, he played in 14 games, 44 receptions, 537 yards, 5 touchdowns. Goodness, Todd, it's hard to gauge. I mean, I am not a fan of Odell Beckham. I don't want anything to do with him. He's going to go, in my opinion, way much earlier than he's supposed to go. So I'll never get him in any draft or mock drafts or whatever. But how are you feeling about Beckham now that he's with Baltimore?
Well, it's interesting because I think at the beginning, when when he was deciding where he wanted to go, he was looking at Baltimore, and I'm like, well, why would you want to go to Baltimore? I mean, you don't like Lamar Jackson may not be there. I mean, that's obviously a gamble too because they signed Odell Beckham first, and then they signed Lamar Jackson. But we've seen the talent. We know what the talent is for OBJ. We there's no doubt about that. But can OBJ, whether it is injuries or off the field stuff, or not off the field stuff, but just arguing or kicking a net, whatever the case may be, it's tough because the talent he has and with the numbers he can put up, it kind of outweighs all that, and you're putting him with Lamar Jackson, an MVP. It does make him very, very intriguing, and it makes you think, would I consider drafting him, really in the first 3 rounds, of the draft because because you know what he's capable of doing, and he has a really good, obviously good quarterback throwing him the football, and so forth. So that's kind of my take on that. If he was there in the 3rd round, I'd really have to sit there and really think on that. Really think like, the he can be the OBJ of, old when he was in New York.
So I'll let Mikey respond here in a second because I just mentioned how he's going to go way earlier than I think he should go. And Todd just said it right then and there. You talk about what he's done since his final season with the Giants. He has averaged 3.8 receptions per game, 51 yards per game, and he's missed 50 games in his entire career, 2 ACL tears. And I know Mikey's not a Lamar Jackson guy, so Odell Beckham, in your opinion, Miguel?
I'm not a Lamar Jackson guy, but this doesn't have as much to do with Lamar. I think people forget, and they still think Odell Beckham is what Odell Beckham was in his first 3 seasons in New York. Do you realize how long ago that was?
It's a long time ago.
Like
2013.
So long ago.
Well, his first 3 seasons
2014,
were incredible.
Yeah.
Pro Bowler every season, over
Hall of
1,300
Fame. Heading towards
yards.
the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, double-digit touchdowns. The last time that happened was 2016. That was 7 years ago. Like, I felt like when I drafted him 4 years ago, like the whole season, I was just like waiting for it to happen, waiting for it to happen, waiting for it to happen. It never did. So, yeah, that's why I'm not gonna, even though not big on Lamar Jackson, I'm not gonna hold this against him. I think he's a shell of who he used to be. I think that he's always going to be a distraction, and I'm on Eric's side. I don't want anything to do with him.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, I go back to just, new change of scenery, and quarterback that can get him the football and wants to get him the football. I think that mindset change. I know this is all. I mean, I know this is all reality mindset, but it just I just believe it just motivates players to do it, and that translates over into fantasy in the numbers every single week. Because if Lamar Jackson wanted OBJ, and again, and obviously too, the preseason's kind of a, I don't know, kind of a sometimes a mirage sometimes, because we see it like, oh my god, just whether it's a couple plays and a long touchdown, you're like, oh, that's it, there it is. Oh my, OBJ is going to go in the first round. Look at that, so obviously you do have to be careful with that too, because I mean the preseason definitely does that to you. But I just think, again, OBJ, I think, realizes too. I said he's 30. He wants to win a ring. He's got it. He's got his money already.
He's got his ring already.
Oh yeah, he's got it. Yeah, his ring. But I just think he wants to. I think this point now he wants to be. He wants to be the main target. He wants to be the one
that's
that
scary.
just that dominates. So that's what it comes down to. Because I agree. We can all agree. I mean, if he's anywhere close to what he was his first few seasons, I mean, it's gonna. Okay.
I don't agree.
Okay.
I don't agree at all. No.
Okay.
Okay, so that's enough of Odell Beckham. Since we're coming up close against it, we have 4 guys left in terms of wide receivers. I'm going to throw out all 4. Mikey, you just give me one to talk about real quick. Jacoby Myers, New England to Vegas. Allen Robinson, Los Angeles to Pittsburgh. Juju Smith-Schuster, Kansas City to New England. Adam Thielen, Minnesota to Carolina. Any of those guys matter to you?
Oh my God, all of them. I hate them.
All right, so no.
No.
Todd, do you like any of those guys? Jacoby Myers, Allen Robinson. Go ahead.
Juju, kind of interesting to New England a little bit. I mean, he's going from Patrick Mahomes to Mac Jones. I mean, that's obviously, on two sides of the spectrum there. But it's kind of an interesting one.
He wasn't even that good with Mahomes.
Yeah, but sometimes you pick up some things to, maybe pick up some things that he learned from Mahomes. So, just saying, but that's just
they signed him as though he's going to do a lot. 3 years, $33 million. But Mac Jones, 288 completions in 14 games.
You give him okay.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go. The tight ends real quick, and if you guys want to talk about them, we could talk about them. Mike Gesicki, Miami to New England. Dalton Schultz, Dallas to Houston. Darren Waller, Las Vegas, traded him to the Giants for a 3rd-round pick. Any of those guys matter, Miguel?
I mean, they all kind of have some. Well, not Gesicki, because doesn't New England have enough tight ends already? Get real.
Yeah, still Hunter Henry's still there.
Hunter Henry's still. Don't they still have Johnny Smith too?
He has been released.
Okay. I mean, Darren Waller is an interesting one. Like, if he can stay healthy, you'd like to see what a healthy Darren Waller season would look like. And in New York, I mean, they don't have a whole lot of. They don't have a lot of receivers taking away targets from him.
Correct. Yeah.
So, I mean, I'd like to see what, the talent's still there.
Yeah, here are the tight ends under Daniel Jones. So in 2022, Daniel Bellinger. Now he's not the same level as Darren Waller. I'm just going through the stats here. Bellinger, 30 receptions, 268 yards, 2 TDs. Year before, Evan Ingram, 46 receptions, 408 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Evan Ingram the year before that, 63 receptions, 654 yards, 1 touchdown. Evan Ingram before that, 44 receptions, 467 yards, and 3 touchdowns. So not a lot of volume for tight ends that are utilized through Daniel Jones. But maybe Waller is better than both of those guys, and Bellinger and Ingram, and maybe changes things. Because you're right, Isaiah Hodgins, Darius Slayton, Wan'Dale Robinson, Jalen Hyatt. Those are the wide receivers on the team. So Todd, you want to talk about any of these tight ends, Gesicki, Schultz, or Waller?
Well, Schultz is very interesting, just because he's going to Houston, rookie quarterback, and I always say rookie quarterback's best friend, next to maybe a running back, is a tight end.
Unless your
so
name's Kyle
Schultz-
Pitts. Oh,
Yeah.
Don't you dare push the sound effect for that one. No, but Schultz is kind of interesting. There it is.
Good job, Miguel.
You want a medal, Mikey?
Oh, actually, I should have played that one. That was a better one.
Anyway, no, Schultz is very interesting. He's a big target for Stroud in Houston. So I think he could surprise some people. I mean, we saw some flashes of him and with the Cowboys. I mean, obviously it's the Cowboys, and you have a veteran quarterback in Dak. But I think Schultz, could be interesting. Could be interesting kind of flyer situation.
Woo. Trying to bring that in low, but instead I brought it in high. But just pretty much saying that we're coming to the end of the show. Todd, what are we going to talk about next week?
Oh, yeah. The NFL draft and rookies. Hell yeah.
Whoa. Todd cursed twice on this episode. Unbelievable.
Cool.
Todd, give me one rookie you're super excited to talk about.
I'm actually super to talk about not CJ Stroud.
TJ Husmanzada?
TJ who I'm Bryce Young.
Okay.
I think again, the Alabama guy, but Alabama can worst thing ever, but I think he has a really good shot of having a really good rookie year. I'm really excited
such low-hanging fruit with number 1 pick. Is there anybody else to talk about besides all the hype surrounding Bijan Robinson? Come on.
That's what I want to talk about, just because there's so much hype. So much hype for this guy going in the first round in a lot of drafts.
Yeah, but that's the that's the problem. That's the problem. You want to go. You want to. Yeah, the hype's around him, but I think Young will surprise more people.
Well, there you have it. First show of the new season. MHA podcast still going strong. In fact, we're improving. We're bringing these sound bites during the show. Well, guys, thanks for coming on here on this Thursday night. Talk about those rookies next week. So, of course, stay tuned all season long for the MHA podcast.